Hey there, everyone. We are here for a quick patch review to go over the changes from PTS. And what's are going to be like, I don't want to call them hot takes, but basically just predictions on what's good, what isn't, and so on. So let's dive into it straight away. Melee Power Axe. So Power Axe is buffed. Overall damage is increased. Blocking version can now enter power stance. I'm not going to go over every line, but basically, overall Power Axe should be considerably better, including the block version. We're expecting it to become a very viable weapon. One of the issues, though, is it doesn't have the same answers that Chainsword has outside of the power stance. So basically, if you're not blocking something, it kind of does jack shit usually. I'm not sure it will be strong enough to rival the Chainsword, especially I'm thinking on Vanguard. On Bulwark and Assault, it might have more arguments due to having better interactions with their damage output. But for Vanguard, I expect Chainsaw to remain the same. Assault, I think it will have some really good use cases. Heroic Double Edge, Relic, Chainsword, this is kind of whatever. Power Gladius, damage buff now lasts for 1 second after the first instance of damage instead of being wasted on a single enemy. This is kind of like whatever. I didn't mention that as well, but the dash attack from Assault was very whatever. 50% more damage on a jump dash attack is going to be whatever as well. Dash attacks deal on average like 15 damage out of the 308 you need to kill an enemy Majoris. 50% more damage bumps it up to what, like 22? Unless this does like 40 to 50 points of damage, which on paper it shouldn't. It's not super interesting. Um, Onto the guns, firearms, heavy bolt rifle, damage increased by 13%. Heavy bolt rifle was in a weird spot last patch where it feels like it should be good and it wasn't really. This should put it in a bit of a better state. I don't think 13% is enough to really answer what you need. 15% for Combi Melter. It was terrible before. Is 15% enough? I don't know. No one. Tactical has such good options anyway that hero combi melters like question mark. It's still competing with Melter. Flat Melter is just very good on tac. It's competing with Carbine. It's competing with Stalker, which is an insanely good weapon, and it's competing with Fire Blaster. So whether it will be viable is a good question, but it clearly won't be best in slot with those changes. Bull pistol, base damage increased by 13.5. That's nice. That's actually kind of nice. I don't think it beats Heavy Bolt anyway. Like, people play Heavy Bolt for a reason. The damage on Heavy Bolt is considerably better. The gunstrike damage is considerably better. And increasing base damage of Bolt Pistol by 13.5 probably won't change that. It doesn't really change its usage against Minoris because you're still one-shotting. Well, you're already one-shotting Minoris in headshot damage. And that's the only thing it did better than Heavy Bolt anyway. Volkite pistol, base damage and Volkite explosion damage increased by 10%. I do not understand why they feel like, for me, why it seems like they're so afraid of buffing that weapon. I feel like you could give it a fat 30% and then maybe it would be broken, you know? Like, we're kind of far off with the 10%. Move on. Heavy bolt pistol for the heroic variant. So this is probably going to be best in class for anyone that doesn't use their secondary a lot. Sniper and Vanguard potentially just for the gunstrike damage, because an increased gunstrike damage from 20% is nothing to scoff at. The heroic perk now instantly kills enemies that are calling for reinforcement. I mean, this is like a neat bonus. It's definitely a buff from PTS where the weapon was super underwhelming. Now it's just, I think it will be good. You probably won't be able to run it on Assault or Bulwark as a main weapon. I don't really see anyone who's got access to Plasma Pistol relinquishing Plasma Pistol for it anyway. But for Sniper and Vanguard, this might actually be pretty damn good. Heroic Sniper Bolt Rifle, all ammo restore perks will not trigger when using this weapon. So, I despise that change. I absolutely fucking hate it. I think it's an absurd change, but it doesn't really matter. I've done already, and it's perhaps only been out for an hour, but I've already run a true solo with a Terminus, so halfway through the map, on the sniper with a heroic sniper bolt rifle, just to make sure, you know, it was actually playable without the ammo restore perks, because you have to bear in mind this also includes your prestige perk. It's fine. Like, It's unpleasant for sure, but you can true solo and it does a massive amount of damage still. So, you know, like we're okay. But it does feel like a nerf for the sake of a nerf. And at the very least, it's an interesting nerf. You know, I will give the Saber this because I don't want to sound like a whiny bitch. We do want to raise its skill cap. You know what? Oh, my bad, misclick here. They did stick to, you know, giving it a high skill cap, and I can't fight them over it. That's fair. Heroic Thunderhammer will spawn a shock zone. I mean, it's a fencing Thunderhammer. Like, block Thunderhammer isn't good. Is fencing Thunderhammer going to be good? No. Heroic Power Fist. Okay, this is actually interesting. It should basically mean that instead of killing Majoris in 6 lights, you kill them in 3. The problem is 3 lights is to 1 enemy in melee when you can just charge your Power Fist for 2.5 seconds or 2.2 seconds and just one-shot 5 of them on block Power Fist. Probably not good enough. It's a sweet buff. It might have some niche edge cases in single target where you can actually do a fair bit of damage, like against bosses or whatnot. I can imagine maybe a niche edge case where on no specs frame you can do something sweet. Outside of that, I don't see it. So maybe, and this much remains to be tested. Maybe for speed running against bosses, there's like something wonky to do. I don't even really imagine it, but you never know. Heavy bolter. Yeah, I mean, it works like a fencing weapon as originally intended. Whatever. Class changes, signal jammer, perk has been reworked. So this one is actually interesting, and I need to test it in depth. But after marking an enemy with all spec scan, other enemies cannot call for reinforcement and automatically explode upon attempting to do so for 90 seconds. If this applies to battle focus mark, this could actually be really strong. But it has to rival with Radiating Impact, which is an insanely strong perk, so it's probably not strong enough. But it might be like, you know, actually a viable alternative for true solos. The one thing that Radiating Impact has that this doesn't have is Radiating Impact is game winning into Terminus fights, which is pretty much the only place where it can get a bit dicey for tactical. And that's not going to be useful in Terminus fights just because of how reinforcement calls work, which is they don't happen during Terminus fights. So yeah, probably not good enough to become best in slot. Should be more interesting if and only if it works on battle focus. If it works on battle focus, we're in business. Sniper, precision targeting now works against extremist and terminus level enemies. So it's the spread reduction and bonus damage, 15%. So we get a conditional aligned aim. Yeah. I mean, for speed running, it does mean you're better off with now running Renewal, which you were already, but you would probably run Renewal and this for your heavy and your attack. So you get extra boss damage and extremist damage, mostly the boss damage. So for speed running, I think precision targeting is becoming best in slot. Outside of that, there's no way you drop off your standard purification with squad renewal best in slot. Guardian Protocol cooldown removed. Wow. I mean, like, that's useless. I don't know, man. Guardian Protocol. Guardian Protocol, for those who don't know, it's the one that makes it so you get invisibility when you revive someone, and they get invisibility as well. That perk is competing with 75% bonus damage on your first cloak shot, which also synergizes with lingering concealment and cloak cancelling. So Guardian Protocol is just like it doesn't have the right to exist. It's not the only perk that like is in that category. We'll talk about it when we get to Vanguard. But yeah, Guardian Protocol is not a perk when you compare it to targeted shot. So whatever. Ambush now also slows down enemies by 10%. Incredible. It's shit. I don't see it changing jack shit. You have to bear in mind Ambush is competing with Persistence, I think is the name. So after Cloak not being staggered, plus I think it's like some bonus damage reduction and lingering concealment. It's in the same column as those two. Like, the two of them are insanely good, and ambush is just ambush. It barely does anything. Startles the enemy, does nothing. So, yeah. I mean, I like the duration of the slow. I will say slows down nearby enemies for 10 seconds. 10 seconds is really, really strong. Um, I'm a bit disappointed there's no changes to the signature perk that has a 30-second cooldown on invisibility. Like, we're terrified of giving Sniper some different gameplay mechanics, but whatever. Bulwark emergency countermeasure cooldown from 90 to 45. This is actually really good. 90 seconds on a perk that you don't really control when it procs or how it procs. Terrible. 45 seconds, a lot better. I could see this existing, where you replace the next to last perk with the ability to get stagger resistance after a shield bash, and then you can drop armored advance to get emergency countermeasure. I can see a vision there. Or you get the middle perk, as you can do already. Vanguard. Okay, so I want to talk about Vanguard really quickly because I really dislike what they did to my boy Vanguard. With a bit of context, when we played on PTS, we saw a few changes that felt like Vanguard could get some pretty niche, maybe unintended, but very strong interactions, and we were pretty hopeful for Vanguard's usability at least getting better. That's what we imagined, at least from looking at it, you know. Now, is that the case? Well, no. Grapnel launcher damage now scales based on difficulty. Cool. Should have been there from the start. Really nice to actually get it now. Like, honestly, 10 out of 10, good change. Retribution. Doesn't matter. Like, we change Retribution to extra melee damage when your mag is empty. Except the way this melee damage works, the calculation makes it kind of useless anyway. As far as we've seen, doesn't seem to change much breakpoints, and it's competing with equipment regen. So melee damage 25% when mag is empty, which is incredibly conditional and vulnerable to like not getting any CHP in any way, shape, or form for losing equipment regen. Not worth it. Moving target. So same issue here. We're touching moving target. You know, the like melee attack, stats damage, reduction against range. Cool. Killing a new enemy or killing an enemy at 13 meter or more restores ability charge by 5%. For a start, that's too little, like, to do anything, I think. I mean, it procs on Minoras, but 30 meter. 30 meter is actually not that much in the game. You know, like, it doesn't sound too bad. And then you realize you lose upper hand for it. Upper hand. Vanguard's best perk in terms of not dying. So, yeah. Like, this would need to be god tier. We're talking like intimidating aura levels of strong for us to drop upper hand. Tenacity. After a ranged kill, Majora's level or higher enemies diving kicks damage is increased by 130%. Cooldown is 15 seconds. It used to proc on Shockwave. And so this is why we were hopeful, because we realized that interaction existed on PTS, and we thought, hey, maybe we can actually make some pretty damn strong Vanguard builds with this. Except they've instantly patched it, and honestly, it's now nothing to write home about. It really doesn't feel like it does much. Collateral damage increased damage by the diving kick to 50%. Whatever. And now this. This one. Inner Fire now works according to description. Absolute fucking tragedy. You can no longer get Inner Fire procs by killing stuff in melee. You need to make it a Gunstrike or an exec, which absolutely kills any use higher level squads had of Inner Fire. Like, legitimately, Inner Fire is a pretty dead perk now. I mean, sure, you could still play to grab your execs on and on and on, but out of one singular scenario, maybe it doesn't happen. I don't know. This is just... it used to proc on melee kills, and I don't know why it needed changing. Like, change the description, you know, in that case. Don't change how it works. Anyway. Active attrition. Enemies hit by damage from melee attacks executed while sprinting or dashing. Melee attacks take 25% more damage for 5 seconds. Question mark on that one. Might actually be useful. You do lose knowledge of the enemy, but knowledge of the enemy might not alter all significant breakpoints. So, actually, not necessarily a bad perk. Like, this could actually it could be pretty good to buff your whole team's damage output on a single target. Like I can see a vision in current active attrition. Battlefield condition changes. I really don't care about any of those, to be honest. I don't really understand why we buffed the damage output of Surgical Strike, but whatever. I really am just sad about this one. We increased Extremist spawn cooldown on Extreme Challenge. This was the most fun modifier there was. And yeah. Increased netcode damage cap. Yes. So they mention it. This change is going to open a huge can of worms of gameplay balancing, but it has to be done. They were restricted by netcode and were accurate. So basically, this allowed, like, this capped how much damage we were able to output to singular targets in some instances. It should no longer be the case. So in terms of speed running, we should be stronger now. Sniper damage buff from cloak ability lasts a bit longer to affect entire bursts and full auto weapons. I mean, it's a buff. Does it do much? I don't think so. Shouldn't change significantly how sniper plays or feels. Improves indication for unparable attacks, whatever. Power cannon, heavy stance, like whatever. This fixed headshots not registering for client-side hit detection weapons. We can now actually headshot Chaos Spawn and Vortex Beast. That's really good. The rest is kind of whatever. I mean, like, there's actually some interesting changes here, such as fixing a lot of interactions that were not working, including Power Sword and Thunderhammer. Overcharge bug being fixed. And normally we should be getting gun strikes on lictors again on perfect dodges, which often we weren't getting. But overall, that's the patch notes. Predictions, you know, if we're gonna make them very quickly. Vanguard stays the same, weakest class in the game by a fair amount because they haven't really touched what's problematic, and when they gave it something that they felt was too strong, they immediately like nerfed it in half. When, you know, some pretty ridiculous things exist within the game already. Bolt Sniper, Heroic, best in slot for Sniper. If you're good, don't miss. Like, genuinely, if you're not hitting headshots, don't run that weapon. Like, you've got 8 shots between 2 ammo crate, and a single reload takes about 40% of a full ammo crate, to give you an idea. Heavy bolt pistol, again, gonna be best in slot for Sniper and Vanguard, I think, as a backup weapon. The rest just doesn't shake up much of the meta. I don't think anything changes outside of that. So there you go. That was the patch review and the rundown predictions of how things are going to go. Catch you all later.